Hey guys, this is a part 3 of a 4-part series where I'll be covering the essentials of opping in Valorant. If you missed it, check the first 2 episodes where we take a look at some basic tips and tricks in opping with Jett. Today I'll be looking at Sage, so let's get into it. Obviously Sage doesn't have any mobility, nothing like Jett. She has a wall, she has a slow, she has a heal, and she has a resurrection. And this wall is really good to hold opponents like in choke points, or like if they're coming up and you have to block them off. Like, don't get me wrong, a wall can be used like that. A wall can be used in very many different forms. If I was to use a wall with an op, I would put myself on the wall, give myself a different angle, and then hopefully catch him off guard because I'm in a weird spot. I'm in an abnormal position. Calculated. The boost itself, it was pretty effective early on. I think a lot of people are catching on now, but in order to do this, put the wall on top of this little billboard here, this little sign. Notice how the wall is going up and down. You want to hit it at the high point. So scoot yourself up and put yourself over the wall in this position.
Yeah, they're gonna do this.
2 off cat, 3 off. Now, as a Sage, I'm not going to be floating as much as if I was a Jett player. Floating means my goal is to run around the map, feel out the map, get a sense of where they're going to go, and kind of just float around and look for picks. And as a Jett player, that's very common. As a Sage, I am more likely than not to play on a bomb site because I have very good zoning abilities, like a slow here, to slow an entire rush, or to push people off, or simply catch them in the slow and use that to my advantage. So I don't want to be floating around as a Sage, because then my abilities would be not useless, but they wouldn't be as effective as if I was going to anchor a site or play around, like we'll say A, for example. I'll be playing A for the majority of the entire round, so I can only do so much with my abilities and my operator. But for an example, a lot of teams, when they run Cypher, we'll say for example they run Cypher on A and they put a cage here, and as we're executing he pops the cage. My counterplay to that cage is to put an ice wall and peek over it. Obviously I can't see through the cage, so I won't be able to see anything, so I'm pretty much rendered useless other than throwing a couple slows or healing my teammates. I'm not going to be doing much of that. Instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself on a wall here, and this wall will give me the ability to look over the cage and into the bomb site, and I will be able to hold heaven while my team runs in. If you ever do this, make sure you put yourself, don't go too far out, because then the wall is going to stick out and you might accidentally block your team. Just make sure the wall sticks out far enough that you can peek maybe E-box generator side, or at least get a majority of the site. More importantly here, I like to cover heaven. The rotator is more likely to be back gen, or next to the switch here, or maybe up here, or in this corner. The anchor is going to be in the site somewhere, but more likely than not, the heaven player is going to be coming out swinging. It might be a little obvious at first, but it doesn't matter. In their heads, the cage is up, and for someone to peek over it, it's going to catch them off guard. This guy's probably going to wide swing here, and you're going to catch him.
Yeah, I'm gonna push it.
Close. Trying to come out blind.
I'm caging. Like zeros. I hit 2 there. Running.
So typically, as a Sage opper, I find myself to be more of a passive opper, where I'm not necessarily always looking for picks. If I hold a main, this is all I'm going to hold. And if they take this, I might give it up, and I'm just going to op site. I'm going to be a passive opper. An aggressive opper, his job is to simply look for picks. He's got to be aggressive. He needs to get into these get into this aggressive angle and to take the fight to them. That's what an aggressive opper does. Sometimes I believe passive opping can be very good, but it can also be very predictable. So it's very important to switch it up. But typically, if I was going to Sage op, I hold this angle, I hold my main, I try to get a kill. If I do, great. If I don't, I might just give it up, and I'll let them walk into the site. I might hold an off angle here where I let them run into the site, and then they're going to cross my screen here, get a nice little pick, maybe put a wall up to be fancy, walls up, I hold left side, like, you know, just you could switch it up. I'd recommend going into a server and kind of putting yourself in these scenarios where you find yourself in the bomb site and they're rushing at you, like what can I do with my abilities to help me survive and do more damage.
Yeah, Brack seems like the final boss they can't seem to get past. You know, you get one okay to save the team, or we're going to a third map. I'm go for the fight on the first one to break to 1v1, but are you expecting the rack?
Another cool thing you can do with your walls, if you want to really spice it up, is sometimes when I hold this angle here and I wait, and when the round starts, I hold this angle here, and I get a pick maybe, and maybe it's like a rush. Maybe there's a lot there, and there are a lot of them coming to be made. I get a pick, I fall, I run over here, put myself on this wall, and I go in for another repeak. I know this is not typically something you would do as a sage, simply because it's very dangerous, but you know, if you want to be an alpha and you just don't care and you want to be an aggressive sage without having to be like getting into them, like instead of pushing into them, you can put yourself in these positions where you take another shot. Wouldn't recommend it, but the ability to do something like that is always there. There's always a chance that you can get a double kill or maybe a triple if you're good enough. Maybe you put up a fake wall, right? Like maybe let's say that you get a kill, you put up a fake wall here, giving them the false presence that you put the wall to block the door, and you end up not actually blocking the door. You go for a nice little repeat, get a double, hit them with a slow, and now you're up 2 in the 5v3. And a lot of players like to peek like this to get some mid info. If you don't want to do that, you can always boost yourself on the wall here, put yourself in a great position to hold mid. It's very, very uncommon to see a sage boosted up here on this wall, so if your pre-aim is on point, you will net this frag for sure. You will get this kill.
Definitely, and Hayes was forced to go on a self-heal. Skadoodle lands a shot onto the drone. Hayes gets a second one to the side. Skadoodle staying alive. That's a triple kill for him right now, and he's looking for the last kills inside this site. 20 seconds left on the clock. He does have a res if he needs to move inside the entrance of the defender spawn, and AZK though says, don't need it, I'm moving forward. So Wardell, the off battle is happening very soon because he gets the 4K coming across, and now Wardell, it's a 1v1. He lets a shot, he comes in, and he's gonna get the res for the money as well.
Alright guys, so this is some key foundational knowledge we need before we start practicing opping with Sage. She's best used in a more passive playstyle. Practice with some creative positioning in your own server, of course. And next week will be the final installment of the 4-part series where we look at opping with Sova. I'll see you guys then.